Hello everyone, how you doing? Okay, I am a little late today, but I just came back from the doctor and I was in there for a little bit, so I'm a little bit late, but I am here as promised. Um, so thanks so much for coming, guys. Hi, how's everyone doing today? How is everyone doing today? I'm good, thanks so much. I'm good, but I wanted to talk with you guys about something very interesting. What's going on with my bottle? So weird. Okay, so today I wanted to talk with you guys about just the understanding of polyandry because, again, most times when you guys or when people are seeing a woman with multiple husbands or they're seeing a man with multiple wives, the first question that comes out of a lot of people's mouths is, are the men able to have other wives or other women? And the same question is asked for any women who commit exclusively to one man. So do the women have, men, or are they allowed to have other men? So that's the question that people usually ask, and there's two reasons why they ask that. So one of the reasons is simply just to understand the dynamic, because they're trying to learn and understand, or they are basically trying to judge whether the dynamic itself is fair for all parties. And that's a very unfair judgment to make on something that you don't have all of the details on. So I wanted to really just talk about, is polyandry a fair dynamic to request or expect a heterosexual man to partake in? So I want to know you guys' thoughts. Because with that particular logic, with the logic that a polydynamic being fair only results in every single partner also having the same amount of partners or the same opportunity to have partners as each other, would denote that it's fair. So that would just equate to quads being fair, right? Or a bisexual triad being fair, because then each person has the opportunity to have more than one romantic and sexual partner. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of times we don't realize how our logic is skewed. And I've spoken about equality in relationships before. One of the major things that I want people to understand is that if one person does something, you do not have to match that action in order for it to be equal treatment. Hopefully we all kind of understand that. And if you go into a relationship expecting that the person that you are looking to spend your life with is going to mimic or mirror everything that you do to them back to you, then you have an unrealistic idea of what equality in relationships is. You have an unrealistic idea of what reciprocity is. Right. It says, I'm still learning, but if the men desire that one woman is fair. Right. But I want to explain a little bit more, because obviously there are going to be people who are going to still have it in their mind that it's unbalanced, unfair, it's not reciprocated on both sides, you know. This is just for people who do not understand the polygamy culture in its entirety. So there's always going to beg the question, well, can they have others too? Well, if you're open, then that they must be able to be open as well. It only makes sense. I don't know if you guys have seen that in people's comments when people tend to share about their dynamic, or they end up showing their poly relationship for whatever reason. People in the comments, they'll always ask the question, well, is your relationship open? Do you have, you know, are the men allowed to have other women too? And if the woman responds yes, people are going to be in the comments like, well, it only makes sense. It's only right. You know what I'm saying? But who are we to judge what's right and what's not? Right? So I'm going to help you guys kind of understand what would be fair and how polyandry can be fair. Right? So I want to get us in the mode of not always asking that question, or asking it only in the sense of trying to understand the dynamic to learn about poly relationships. If you just want to learn and you're just genuinely inquisitive, genuinely inquiring because you want to learn, that is the only reason why you should be asking. You should not be asking for, you know, your own type of, oh, let me see if it's fair for everybody that's there. You know what I'm saying? It's like we all become inner judges, you know, without us even realizing it. But it's the type of conditioning and mindset that we have grown into of understanding equality and reciprocity in relationships. It's the same concept of a man thinking that if there's two people in a relationship, there should be two incomes in that household. If there's three people in a relationship, there should be three incomes in that household, one income coming from each person. That type of thing, right? Without understanding what each person actually brings to the table and what's valuable from each person. Right. So I think we have gone over, or we have all understood, that if a 50-50 relationship in a monogamous setting is technically unfair because the expectation of child rearing, house duties, domestic duties, and all types of other things are rested upon one person to deliver, but the income should be split between two people, is that a fair and just relationship? You know what I'm saying? And I think throughout this past year or two, I think we have all come to the conclusion that that's not a fair relationship. You know what I'm saying? It's not a fair relationship because ultimately one person is putting in more energy and is being drained way more than the other. But on paper, it may seem fair because each person is bringing in, you know, $80K a year. Right? So if each person is bringing in $80K a year, is that a fair relationship? It's unfair to judge that relationship and think that you know the answer without having all of the details. So I basically wanted to talk about this because I realized that when a lot of people are just starting their journey, right, just starting their polyandry journey, they come in with this idea of what equality is, to the point where you will hear women say, oh, I'm really searching for a polyandry, or I want a polyandry, you know, but, and then that but happens, and it's like, well, why is there a but technically, right? So they'll say, but, you know, if it comes down to it, you know, it's still open. They can have women if they want. But then once they say that, then it's no longer polyandry. So it's like, well, do you want a polyandry? And if you want a polyandry, you should feel secure in your conviction of what you want. You should not have to second guess yourself about whether it's fair or not. And I think we all have this internal judgment, even within ourselves, about whether the dynamic of polyandry is fair for a heterosexual man to partake in. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I wanted to talk about it. So so this even affected me when I first started officially my polyandry journey. I always felt like, what's the word? I often felt it was the right thing to do to have that option on the table for my relationship to be open, even though that wasn't within my heart to really desire. And this was before I did any particular like research about polyandry to understand. Like, this was just my understanding of knowing that I can love more than one person because I've had more than one person in an unethical manner. So, or there was some sort of overlap between a breakup and a get back together and a new person. So that's kind of how that happened. So basically it's like, so basically I want to just talk about that because I know if I went through it, I know other people are going through it too, because I see it all the time, especially when people are talking about what they're looking for. I can feel the difference in the energy from when they say, oh, I'm looking for a polyandry, or I'm looking for you know, this amount of husbands. But you know, if anything, you know, you know, if they want, it can be open too, you know, for them to have women, you know, just because, you know, I want to be fair. So people are coming out and saying these things, and I'm like, well, where did we get this idea from? Where did we get this idea from? Okay, so upon, like, throughout my journey, right, I'm not sure if many of you know, but I do have a boyfriend that I've had for quite some time. Okay, so I'm gonna just use him as an example because he was under the impression that in order for our poly journey to be fair or equal, that he should also seek out wives as well. In the beginning, when I first brought the idea to him to make it official, he was okay with it. He said, yes, I think this is beneficial for us. And he understood the economic part of it. He understood the brotherhood part of it. He understood how it could play a part in my overall emotional state and happiness. So he was very on board with the whole thing. But I guess after some time has passed and he has also spoken to like friends of his and things like that, he came back and spoke to me and he was like, well, you know, I want wives too. And I'm like, okay, if that's what you want to do, we will explore that idea. But why do you want other wives? Let's talk about it. Why do you want those wives? Is it because I'm asking to have multiple husbands? Is that the reason why? He's like, no, you know, it just should be fair. And I'm like, what does that mean? Because at the end of the day, based on your personality traits, characteristics, and capabilities, would you be able to realistically handle more than one wife? You know what I'm saying? Like, the reason why I am saying that I need multiple husbands is because I want to be able to take the pressure off of you. You and I work great in these particular areas, and we do not work great in these particular areas, but I do not want to put pressure on you to perform in a way that's unnatural to your being. So since it's unnatural to you to do this, this, and this, why not I connect with someone who is more inclined to do that naturally? You know what I'm saying? So that's basically where our conversation went. And I realized that to add that idea about reciprocity or equality into your dynamic could actually be placing an unbalance on your relationship if you're not using the right amount of discernment or actually looking at how you guys will benefit. Is it really a benefit, or is it a tit for tat type of thing? And we have to truly, truly be careful, because that's how our relationships become transactional. You know, that's how our relationships become very transactional, and there's no genuineness from it. Right. So some men feel some type of way about it, and what I realize is that it's more of an ego type of thing, or more of a pride type of thing. They're still coming from a competitive nature, or I don't want no one else to touch you. I don't want no one else to this. I don't want no one else to do that. And if they're going to do that, then I should be able to do it too. And there's nothing wrong with that feeling, but you have to be very realistic with yourself. And I ask this to every man, because almost every man that I have dated upon this journey has also said that they originally, not every man, but a lot of them, a lot of the men that I have been speaking to on this journey, they have all said initially on their journey, their poly journey, they have wanted multiple wives. And I always ask them why. And then they tell me, oh, you know, because this, that. And then I always ask them, well, can you realistically do that? Like, do you think you can handle what you're asking for? You know? And once I do a full assessment, after I've known them for quite some time, I can easily do a full assessment on whether they have the capabilities to handle that type of thing. Or are you just asking because you want it to be this ideal equality? You know what I'm saying? So basically, I'm realizing that if you were to actually give someone or tell them it's okay, sure, whatever, and they go ahead and try to move on and act upon this newfound equality, would it be placing more pressure on that person to perform in the way that's not natural to them? And now, is the relationship equal? You know what I'm saying? So it goes from one person feeling really good and okay, and this person feeling like there's things missing. So then they add on people to make things easier, to not put pressure on this person. But this person feels like, okay, well, I should be able to do that too. But then when they get those people, now they have to do all the things they couldn't do for this person for more than one person. So it's like, is it equal, or are you now putting more pressure on yourself to do all the things that it would be too much for you to actually put out? And that was one of the things that he and I came to understand. So when it comes down to polyandry being fair for heterosexual men, the answer is yes, it is fair for heterosexual men. It's fair for the men who do not have the emotional capacity to handle multiple women. It's fair for the heterosexual men who do not have the energy to give multiple women. Everyone, I need people to understand that everyone is not meant or built to be in a poly relationship, and to add that equality or idea of equality on to every person just because, on every man just because he's in a polyandry relationship is actually putting more pressure onto him. You know what I'm saying? So it's always best to ask questions and to basically not judge anyone's dynamic by just looking. You never want to judge anyone's relationship by just looking. Thanks so much. So, utilizing my own experience, I wanted to explain how polyandry is fair for people who, let's say, the men have very demanding careers. If the men have very demanding careers and they're away from home a lot, if the woman is polyandrous and has multiple husbands, would it be fair to add on multiple wives for that man to have just because she has multiple husbands? Would that be fair to those wives who will ultimately have to now split the limited amount of time that he's giving the first wife? You know what I'm saying? So I want us to be able to really think about the things that we say, and try to think outside of the box, because I feel like we think a lot of things, or we're only thinking on the surface level a lot of times. So questions like this: men aren't designed to be monogamous by nature. Like, where does that come from? Like, I really need to know, where does that come from? So by the time you see a woman with multiple husbands, you have to ask the question, well, men aren't monogamous by nature. How are they in that? That's unfair. Are they allowed to have other women? I'm going to need us all to kind of understand that when it comes to humans in general, humans are communal. I think we all understand that. Humans are communal, and we all need community. So that's one thing. We all need community. But every man is not naturally polygamous or polyamorous. That is not true. The amount of sperm he produces does not equate to his ability to maintain multiple relationships simultaneously. Every man cannot do that. You understand what I'm saying? So polyandrous relationships are actually built for those men who are more laid back, more reserved. They may have demanding jobs. They may it's many different scenarios where a polyandry situation would be more beneficial for a man than multiple women, because that can be so much pressure for a man to be able to maintain and actually perform. And what I mean by perform is be able to mentally and emotionally show up for those women that you guys are placing on him. I feel like a lot of times you guys are placing so much pressure on each other to live up to this idea of masculinity that you guys made up. It's not real. And I think if we want to heal as a nation, I think we need to start being realistic with ourselves. Being realistic, using our discernment, and actually looking at each person as an individual and not lumping everyone into this generalized diagnosis. Okay, but what if he wants to be polygynous, but I only want to be in a polyamorous relationship? what do you do? So, very simple. If the man that you are with or talking to, whatever, if he wants to be polygynous, he wants multiple women, right? And you, on the other hand, want multiple men and you do not want to be in a polygynous relationship, you have to ask him why he wants that. If he responds to you saying, because it's natural, men are supposed to be this way, he shouldn't have it. If he is incapable of being honest, if he's incapable of communicating effectively, he shouldn't have it either. If he's incapable of providing for those multiple women, he shouldn't have it either. If he's incapable of providing emotional, not just mental, but emotional safety or security for those women, does he have the physical capacity to physically satisfy these women? Is he going to help these women with their consciousness? Can he do this for multiples? And if you've been in a relationship with this person, you can assess whether he can do that already. If he can't do that for one, then he can't do that for more than one. One thing that I realize is that a lot of men want polygyny. This is very true. A lot of men want polygyny. It's not wrong to want something. It's not wrong to have a desire. What's wrong is not assessing your realistic capabilities to do that thing that you want. Right? That's just like people who they desire this particular career and job, and they decide that they're going to embellish their resume to get that job, and then when they get there, they have no idea what to do, and they're struggling because they lied. You know what I'm saying? That's what that is. A lot of men desire this, and they have created this culture and this notion that it's natural to every man. So what happens is a lot of women allow and go into this type of relationship whether they want to or not, whether they could want to keep him or not want to be alone, whatever it may be, or they just feel like it's supposed to be this way, right? And they go into that, and the man has no knowledge of how to handle that. He doesn't know any conflict resolution skills. He doesn't know how to lead a team, no leadership skills, no nothing, right? So there is only a few people, a few men who I respect to live a polygynous life, and I can count on like one hand how many men I think are capable, and I'm talking about black men in our community, who I think is capable of actually maintaining a healthy polygynous relationship for a long time. And the rest are just people who just desire it, but I don't feel that they have or possess the characteristics or qualities that would make those relationships healthy and successful. Okay? People, we cannot just act on our desire alone. Like, you know what I'm saying? We have to truly do self-assessment to see if we can do it. Because you don't want to go into something and then you end up getting overwhelmed because it's a bunch of drama, it's toxic, people aren't getting along, and you're wondering why. And then what I'm realizing is that when it comes to these polygynous relationships, men, they tend to place a lot of the mental work on the women. So if the women aren't getting along, they will sit back and judge them and talk about them and yell at them or whatever, and sit there and be like, well, y'all not getting along, y'all need to get along, and then they'll walk away. And they won't put anything into that without realizing the part that they play into them arguing. That's another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, because I know you guys have heard me say that I do not think black men need to be practicing polygyny now. But there's a few that I give exceptions for. But I do not think that black men should be practicing polygyny on a mass scale in this day and age. I feel in general that our men are just not ready. They're not there on a conscious level, on a conscious spiritual level. Some are, but many are not. As many that want it, no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. One of the problems that a lot of these men, they think is normal, is to go into that relationship and expect the women to just get along, cohabitate, work together like sisters, become sisters instantly. They don't know how to, they don't even value women. That's first. You have to value women. That's the first thing. A lot of them tend to bring in women simply because they have an attraction to her, and then expect the wives that's already there to just mingle and get along with the new ones simply because he has attraction to them. These type of relationships are basically, is basically kink relationships in a vanilla type of setting. Okay, so these are kink relationships where it is a power exchange dynamic. Okay, so that type of submission that the men are requesting or expecting from women is the type that would put them in the place to sit back, accept any woman that comes in, and be responsible for the peace of the home, with him not putting any energy into whether the house is peaceful or not. So whenever he's upset at one, he'll give all his attention to the second one, which of course would create competition. Men don't realize that they are the ones who create that competition. Women don't come up with competition on their own. Like, I hope people understand that. Like, the competition doesn't come simply because you're just jealous of one another. It happens because it's all about the allocation of attention. If that man is utilizing his attention and time as a weapon inadvertently, because he may not know, it will create a friction between the women, because then it will become a contest, an inner contest, to where they're going to try and figure out, well, what did she do to get that attention, to get that present, to get that kiss, to get that hug, to get that, caress. What did she do to get that and I didn't do to get that? So it will happen because of the things that he's doing. You understand what I'm saying? So this is why I say our men, until they have grown, they're not ready for that type of relationship. I truly feel like men in general, our men need to be in a polyandry so that they can learn, number one, how to work on a team. Everybody ain't a leader. That's number one with our men. I need our men to understand that. You're all not leaders, okay? You have to be able to work well with others. You have to understand how to play your part in a team, in a mission. You have to learn how to play your part, okay? And you have to be able to put yourself in a situation that is not all about you. You have to basically go through an ego death. So our men in general need to go through a metamorphosis before they're even able to go into a polygynous relationship. And I think polyandry is the one that's going to carry them and get them there. Okay? So honestly, men need to go through polyandry first, if anything. And it's just like, what was it? I think it was the men in India. What happens is, the men in India, they would end up in a polyandrous relationship first. It may be temporary. It may not even be forever. It'll be temporary. And then once they have grown to the point that they are now able to get their own job, they're able to provide for a family, they're able to move out, and they have gained all of the necessary skills to head a family, then they would go out and get a wife after that. But they would first be a junior husband to learn. You know what I'm saying? Like, our men go into their spread their seed days, their whoring days, and then after that, then they want to settle down without any particular husband training. That doesn't even make sense. You know what I'm saying? All black men need to be in a polyandry. How did you realize polyandry was the lifestyle best suited for you? I realized it. When did I realize it? I think I realized it. I don't remember when it was, but I realized it after I realized it when my love never died for anybody. That's when I realized it. When I realized I can fall in love with someone new and I still had the same type of level and love for an ex. So I would be able to see an ex and still be in love with a current boyfriend at the same time. So once I knew that I was able to love more than one, because that happened, I think I was with my ex, and I think we broke up for some particular reason, and then I met someone new who I was really getting into, and I was falling for him. And then I guess I went back to see my ex to get some of my stuff, and we ended up getting back together that same visit, but my feelings didn't dissipate for the new person. So once I realized that my feelings were able to continue, like once I realized that my love was unconditional no matter who I'm in a relationship with, that's when I knew that I didn't have to continue to have monogamous relationships where I'm just settling. Because all of my relationships, I always felt that I was only expressing a piece of myself with that person. Because with that person, they activate this particular piece of me. So I'm like, oh, I love this piece. Oh, I love this piece. Oh, I love how I am with you. I love how I am with you. But I could never be all of myself. You understand what I'm saying? I could never be all of myself. It was just certain pieces. I've always had 3 men in my life and handled it well, and everyone was happy. Beautiful. Did they know? Did they know? I thought something was wrong. No, let me tell you. When I was in college, okay? When I was in college, I was... this is embarrassing, but throughout my school years I was teased. That's one thing. But once I went to college and I was finally dibbling and dabbling into boys, because in high school I didn't, but in college I did. I'm thinking, oh, I'm free, this is gonna be fun, oh, I like it, oh, this is fun. And then it's like, once you go on to the floor with the boys, like, you know, you get this entire stigma as a girl who's always on the boys' floor in the dorm. You know what I'm saying? So I would hang out and be chilling in this guy's room I was seeing, but then I would also go hang out with this guy, and then this name just started happening. You know what I'm saying? So society teaches you and conditions you, you know, to feel like something is wrong with you, and that's what's happening even now as we're adults. It's all of this peer pressure to make women feel like, oh, you guys are only supposed to have one man your whole life. I don't know who told anyone that. The vagina is actually built to withstand multiple phalluses. That's biology. A man's penis is shaped like a mushroom because it's meant to take out any competing sperm. He goes in, it's supposed to pull out any sperm that's not his. So that means a vagina is supposed to have multiple partners. the woman's womb decides which sperm will penetrate it, because the womb is looking for superior DNA. So she's supposed to have variety. So all those women who are in monogamous relationships or with a guy for years and years and years, and it seems as though she's infertile but nothing's wrong with him, it's because the womb did not choose him. That's why. So we are under this spell, right? So I'm trying to stop us from being under this spell where we are in denial of our nature. Our nature as women is to be fruitful, if that's the best word I could come up with. Okay? Human beings in general are supposed to be fruitful. One gender is not supposed to be confined to one person their entire life. That's unrealistic. And every time someone says that, just like, it's completely ignorant. I don't know why grown men who can read are saying that, because you can read and learn that is not true. What to do if people shame the men in polyandry? Basically, that's going to happen. That's one thing that any man who's going into a polyandry relationship, he has to be mentally strong, emotionally strong. That's why I say polyandry is not for the weak. Because if you are weak-minded, then you will be affected by society's thoughts and their words and things like that. But you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared for what the ignorant people will say. There's a lot of people who do not understand what polyandry is, and there's a lot of people who are trying to uphold this unrealistic idea of patriarchy and monogamy, and the world's supposed to be one way. Women are supposed to be monogamous. Men are supposed to be fruitful. So there's so much that's going to come into play when men go into this type of relationship. They have to be ready. You have to be ready as their wife, right? So what's going to happen is, when this happens, you guys have to be able to look these people in their eye, well, if it's on social media, whatever, and you have to be able to stand your ground and know that they're stupid. You know what I'm saying? You have to know that they're stupid. So when I'm talking to men on my journey, I tell them all the time, you know what's going to come with this. You know that this is a part of the package as far as how society will view you while you are doing this. So if you're not preparing them, you have to be, you have to prepare their mind, you know, before you guys go out in public. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be stares. There's going to be people wondering and snickering. You know what I'm saying? You have to prepare them if they've never done this before. Sometimes they knew and didn't care because they all enjoyed how I treated them when I got married. That's when it backfired. I was miserable. Yeah. Well, now when it comes down to it, it's all about being honest. It's all about being honest, and the way in which we find out that we're polyandrous is always going to be in an unethical manner, because of the society that we live in. It's not free enough for us to like explore what type of relationship works for us, and we don't learn our proper history anyway. So because we don't learn our proper history or anything that happened pre-history or pre-his story, since we don't learn that, we don't know a lot of our culture. So we're never going to know. And because we're under this ideology of fake masculinity and fake femininity, we're going to have to discover things in a manner in which is going to either break us down and submit to those ideas, or build us up to be rebels. Because there's only two ways that society can affect you, right? So those of us who have decided to walk in our polyandrous journey unapologetically, you guys are the ones who have not allowed society to break you down, and you have not submitted to the idea of what society has deemed normal or healthy relationship. You guys are breaking those ideals every day. So I'm really proud of you guys so much for even coming out, whether you're looking for it, you're in it, just even identifying yourself as a polyandrous person, whether you're a man or a woman. You are essentially revolutionizing history, because the next generation is going to be, their social climate is going to be completely different from ours, and it's because we are paving the way for that. We are breaking that mold and saying this is not all we have to, we all don't have to live like robots. We're all not going to live the same way. Let me see. Let's see. Oh, I can't see. Sorry. What inspired you to teach the world about this lifestyle? I was inspired to teach about this when I realized that people just didn't know. So I started this thinking that it was kind of normal. Well, in my mind, I knew that it wasn't normal, but because polygyny in the eyes of people, like, they knew that polygyny was an option even though monogamy was the standard. So I thought that polyandry would also be the same, would be on the same level as polygyny, because people understand that polygamy is something that is, you know, it was legal before it was made illegal, right? And everyone knows what it is, whether they want to practice it or not. Like we all have an idea of what it is. So I thought because it was polygamy, people knew of it. And once I realized that people didn't know of it, and that their only idea of polygamy was a man with multiple wives, and they had no idea of anything outside of that, it really put a damper on my journey. So I decided to teach the masses, because I'm like, this can't be what people are thinking out here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm realizing that not just with me, but even outside of me, people are having some struggles with what they think polyandry is. And I'm like, I want to know how many people are having trouble on their journey because there's just no education about it out here. It's just not enough. And I've also realized that there have been people who have been a part of the polyamory community. They've been going to meetups and been a part of different groups and things like that. And even though they use the word polyandry, they still think of it and look at it as polyamory. And I'm like, that's totally false. And once I realized that there was false information going on out there, I had to try my best to correct it and give you guys the culture and understanding of what it is outside of just having multiple partners, because that's not just what it's about. It's so much more. And I hope that you know, the information that I bring out actually helps and clarifies all of the elements in that type of dynamic. I believe I am polyandrous by nature always. Date and openly communicate, but never any exclusivity, because it comes with restrictions. What do you mean it comes with restrictions? Meaning, when you are dating these people and they know that you're dating other people, what would the restrictions be? Like, what would your conversations be like? Like, I kind of want to know what you're referring to. But if we're talking about polyandrous people by nature, polyandrous women are, you can tell you're naturally polyandrous when you are a complex individual where you can't be put into a box. You're a person, like if somebody asks you your personality type, you can't just use one word. You switch between different ways of expressing yourself. You know, when it comes to relationships, you need more than what any one person can provide you as far as emotional security, emotional attention. Like, if you feel like you're settling in your monogamous relationships or just accepting the bare minimum, even though that person is giving their all, you may be polyandrous naturally, and you don't even know that. Is there really no polyandry marriage legal? I only see polygyny marriage legal, and in America there's no polyandry. Only polyamory marriage is recognized. So polyamory is recognized in some states. That is new. That has happened in 2022. When you look at polygamy being legal in other countries, they are going to be leaning towards polygyny because it may be a Muslim country, and that's usually the law under which it is legalized. So when it comes to polyandry is legal in some countries, but it's in remote countries like the Solomon Islands. You have to basically look for countries where you have to basically read the laws, right? You have to read the laws, and if it says only men can have more, then only men can have more. But if it says polygamy is legal and it doesn't specify for only men, then it's legal for both. And you just have to really do a lot of research. So I've done some research. So Solomon Islands was one of them. I'm trying to remember off the back of my hand. There is a country in West Africa, but I forgot which one it's called. And I'll make a post about it. Thanks for saying that. I'll make a post about it, and I'll go back to my research, and I'll show you guys. The moment they'd want exclusivity, they would want me to only be with them, which always seemed unfair to me. I understand. So that's basically what I came on here to talk about. So a lot of times when exclusivity comes into play, they just want you to themselves. Like, I can tell you guys right now that I'm not with certain men simply because they only want me to themselves. You know what I'm saying? So we have to really work on the mental strength of our men. You know what I'm saying? We have to work on that. Our men have to learn to share. Point blank, period. I don't mean to say it like that, but it is what it is. Sorry, y'all. I got a sore throat recently. We have to learn to share. We have to stop. I'm gonna have to stop competing with everything, like, for real. Like, stop competing, because at the end of the day, right? They think about the sexual aspect. They don't care. Like, they could be struggling financially, right? And then they need you to help them with the bills. They don't care that They may be lonely and they need to bond with another man because it's healthy for a man to bond with another man. They may have no friends. They may have no one to go to gym with. They have no one to talk to who would understand them from the male perspective. They don't care about all that other stuff. All they're thinking about is if that other man could outperform him during sex. So if they can stop thinking about that, more men would want to be polyandrous because of all the benefits that come with it. I can say right now that there's probably so many of your men right now in your relationships who are hesitating, giving you a hard time, doing all types of things because they don't want to be compared to another man, or they don't want to create this fake competition within themselves, because that's what happens. They create the fake competition within themselves, and they don't want you to experience someone, to have a better sexual experience with someone else other than them. That's why men care so much about body count, because they'd much rather have it in their mind that they're the only one. You know? So, but yeah, you guys have more questions? You guys have more questions? I actually have about 3 more minutes in this live. But yeah, hopefully, did I go over everything? I was thinking if I went over everything, but I definitely want to come on here and let you guys know that we have to let go of our idea of what equality in relationships look like. We have to understand that a polyandrous marriage is fair for the individuals that's in it because of their natural capabilities and characteristics. Anything more would be too much pressure on the men in that relationship. Right, older men aren't that hung up on the outperformance of another man. Listen. They may not be. They may be. It really depends. Like, we could sit here and say older men, but I date older men. Let me tell y'all. Okay? Let me tell you guys. There really is no difference between younger and older. We cannot judge by age on their mental capacity. Okay? Wherever a person is on their consciousness level is really determined on their conviction to self-growth. It has nothing to do with their age. You know what I'm saying? So, we need to understand that. Do you have any ideas on how poly people can become more social with each other? Going out. Not just like huge, big meetups or things like that, but we have to act like kids. Just set up days where it's like, oh, you know, we're at the park. Everyone just go to the park. Everyone just go to the beach. Everyone just do something, you know, without it being like a huge type of meetup that you're waiting for a poly group to host something or whatever. Like, if you guys are consistently talking or whatever, just post that you're out and say that you're open to people coming to hang out with you. You know what I'm saying? That's the best way to become social, and that's how you make friends. That's how you make friends who are like-minded. Just be more open to, you know, communing with each other in person. You know what I'm saying? Instead of waiting for someone else to host something, or waiting for this or waiting for that. Everything doesn't have to be so formal. You know what I'm saying? Just go out and have a good time. But yeah, guys, no more time. I'm gonna have to get off. It's an hour. It's an hour still going. I be having these issues with Instagram because they be saying that live is only an hour, And on my other page, after an hour, it cuts off. And this just passed an hour and it's still on. So you guys help me understand. Is Instagram Lives an hour or is it 4 hours? Help me understand. Let me know what's going on here, because it's changing all the time and I don't know how to... Right, experience. It's still going, y'all. I don't know. It's still going. I'm here. I was just going to start the live over, but I'm here and I don't know. It's still going. So we're going to see. Probably because I have more subscribers on this page. Maybe. I'm glad you came through too. But yeah, you know, if you guys have more questions, let me know. Let me know if you have more questions. I want to try my best to go live more often and talk to you guys. I'm not going to say every week because, you know, I'll be having things to do. But I will do my best to come on more often and just talk to you guys and just be here, you know? But yeah, if there's no more questions, I scrolled up. Where's the more questions? Or maybe you guys could put it in the thing, in the question box. Oh, I thought that was a statement. Is it a good idea to say I'm non-monogamous in my dating profiles and my bio? Of course, absolutely. Absolutely. That was one of the most recent videos I made, talking about letting people know that you are polyandrous as early as possible, before a first date. Not even just on the first date, but before the first date. So people know you're not wasting people's time. You know, they're not wasting your time. You know, unless you don't really care which relationship you're getting into, you know, then it doesn't really matter. And then you most likely won't get into it then. You'll end up in a monogamous relationship. But yeah, let me see. Okay, question. Do you believe it is important to be in community with other polyamorous women? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel that it's important because in this society where they demonize you for your natural urges, or just the characteristics in general, where you are demonized for even being assertive, in certain environments where you're demonized for your natural personality, you definitely need people who understand you. One thing I said earlier about human beings is that we're communal. We are not supposed to go through anything by ourselves. We're not supposed to just go through life on our own. No matter whether we think we need others or not, we definitely need sisterhood and brotherhood each. How do you navigate being a part of someone else's open relationship? So that would infer that you're not open. You're exclusive to them, but they're open. Am I right? Because if it's that way, right? It really depends on that person and how they navigate having an open relationship, and you are one of their partners, right? So it's more so on them rather than on you, because all you have to do is communicate when you're feeling uncomfortable. The biggest problem that can happen with you relating with someone who is open and you are exclusive to them is that you are not speaking up. You understand what I'm saying? So if they do something and you are uncomfortable with it, it's your duty to speak up for yourself. Because how else will they know? There is no mind reading. That's a thing that ends all relationships, right? So you want to make sure if they're going out too often, if they're not communicating with you often enough, if you require to know what time they'll be back, if you want to know what days are your days ahead of time, these are things you need to talk about and basically set certain boundaries about your comfortability. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that they are honoring you. If you don't say anything, then they can't honor you. You understand what I'm saying? I'm so happy you're in my life. I can't wait to build with you. Oh, don't make me blush. Don't make me blush, darling. I'm typically monogamous. Well, do you, man. Do you. Do what's best for you. So, you're typically monogamous. Even if you're monogamous with someone that's poly, because that's basically what a poly-mono relationship is. A polygamous relationship, a polyandrous relationship is consistent of a woman that is poly and men that are mono. Okay? So when you are the mono partner and you have a poly partner, it's all about communication and just speaking up. You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure that you are equally speaking up as well as equally being considerate of others. If you are inside this polyandry relationship, like speaking up could be, sometimes you could be a cock blocker, so don't do that either. So I want to make sure we understand this, okay? So you have to make sure you're not being selfish or thinking individualistically, okay? Because once you enter a polyandrous relationship, it's more about we rather than I, okay? So you can speak up about things that are uncomfortable to you, but you can also make sure that that she, the goddess that you're with, you're committed to, she is the one who is always going to have the entire family's interest at heart, okay? So you need to also understand that there are going to be times of compromise as well, okay? So if she is saying, well, tonight I want to have a family movie night, but you know that you want to be with her alone, then this would be the time to share because it's family movie night, right? But if she's not communicating with you and she does this and doesn't say anything, then you can voice your opinion because she did not communicate and you did not know it was going to happen. Okay, so that's pretty much how you can kind of figure out how to navigate in this particular relationship, understanding when to voice if something is being done to create your uncomfortability, or are you just being a little, selfish. So you got to kind of be able to discern the difference. It says, I look too soft. How can I look brave in relationships to look like the matriarch? Listen. It's not about looks. It's about who you are naturally. It's about who you are naturally. Are you naturally assertive? Do you have leadership skills? Do you project your voice when you speak? So it's more so about that. There's many things that you can do to activate your divine feminine energy, right? Understanding that divine feminine is equal. Equal meaning you have feminine and masculine as a balance, okay? You have to be able to balance your energies, and it will come across. It will come across to your partners. You know what I'm saying? So you have to work on yourself. So there's plenty of things you can do to work on yourself to make yourself more energetically balanced. But it's not about trying to look stronger to be a matriarch. You know what I'm saying? You never want to try and, step into something that may be overwhelming to you. You want to be able to not become a role, but have a role that fits your natural ability to handle that. You know what I'm saying? So if you can do these things, then do them and work on yourself. You know what I'm saying? Hi, guys. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk with you guys today about. But I'm so glad that you guys came and you guys had the questions that you had. But I'm going to end up getting off. And I want to thank you guys so much for coming on with me tonight. And I will do my best to come on again, maybe next week or in 2 weeks. Good night, guys. Thanks so much for coming. Good night, good night, good night, good night. Much love and blessings.